Thunderhead and Mystic Timbers are both GCIs and are incredible wooden coasters. They also happen to be my two personal favorite wooden coasters, with their insane laterals, pacing, and overall out-of-control ride experience. After my recent visit to Dollywood, and getting off Thunderhead for the first time, the debate between these rides has been extreme. I've gone back and forth tirelessly to see which of these rides is better, and today, I'm finally going to decide through this video. So today, let's look at Thunderhead and Mystic Timbers and see which is the superior ride. This video will be split into multiple categories, and we will see which ride is better at each one. If one coaster does better than the other in a category, it will receive a point, and the one with the most points at the end is the winner. So without further ado, let's start off with the first category, which is theming and appearance. And this is a pretty easy choice, because while Dollywood does like to elaborately theme a lot of their coasters, Thunderhead just isn't one of those. And while coasters like Diamondback may even have the slightest Western theme, Thunderhead has absolutely nothing. But Mystic, on the other hand, has some great theming and a full story, and while that shed may be underwhelming, you can't deny that it is very well themed. And not only that, but Mystic also has some of my favorite trains on a wooden coaster, which just looks so perfect set on the brown structure flying through the beautiful setting in the woods, which cannot be beaten. So for appearance, Mystic earns itself the first point of this video. Next up is operations, and this was probably the closest call of the video, because these coasters are both manufactured by GCI, so they have nearly identical trains, and therefore, the operations are pretty similar. But one thing that Thunderhead has that Mystic doesn't is a seatbelt that goes over both rows. So instead of one for each rider like Mystic, this makes it so that only one operator has to check the seatbelt, making the dispatches a lot faster. And since Dollywood has its employees only pull up and not push down on the restraint, it makes for some pretty fast operations, and gives Thunderhead its first point. Up next, I have pacing, which is again such a close call. These are both rides that are immaculately designed to have absolutely no dead space, and with the lack of a mid-course or any trims throughout the ride, you get a non-stop, action-packed ride until you hit the final brakes. So for this, I'm going to be extremely nitpicky in choosing the winner, and that's when I landed on Mystic Timbers because of two elements. The first is the hill over the lift hill after the drop. When you go into this element, you really slow down, and since it comes right after the ride's most crazy element, the drop, you lose that feeling of craziness, while Thunderhead carries that feeling through the whole ride. Mystic also has a floater hill after the tunnel, which again, kills the feeling of crazy laterals and quick ejector. And since Thunderhead doesn't do this, it gets itself another point. Up next is Roughness, and this was a category that gave me an immediate winner. However, I think it's still worth mentioning that both of these rides are weirdly smooth. Especially for wooden coasters, these rides glide along their track, and both parks put in so much effort into retracking and caring for these rides very often, and keeping them extremely smooth. And both Dollywood and Kings Island do deserve a round of applause for their maintenance. But I do have to mention that Mystic Timbers is literally smoother than most steel coasters I've been on. This ride feels like Kings Island spends every weekend giving it completely new track. The trains also help on both of these coasters because they are so well cushioned, but since I do feel the slightest of slight rattles on Thunderhead, Mystic takes the cake for this round. Up next is diversity, and what I mean by this is which of these coasters has a consistently different layout. This is another clear winner for me, and sadly, I have to, again, badmouth Mystic Timbers. And let me get this straight, this ride is still great, and I don't really think it needs a diverse layout, because to be honest, an out-of-control ride full of just airtime and laterals is fine by me. But what Thunderhead does is provide that same feeling and forces, while still having many different elements, such as huge turns along with small airtime hills. So Thunderhead, once again, takes the lead. Finishing up, we have Airtime. And the more I thought about this, the more I began to lean towards one coaster in particular. And that ride is none other than Mystic Timbers. I'm sorry, Thunderhead, you still do have some great airtime. Honestly, a lot that I did not expect at all. For example, every time you enter one of those big swooping turns, you do get some solid flowjector. But when it comes to airtime, Mystic excels. All of its airtime moments are quick pops of ejector, and some of these, such as the one in the beginning and the drop, are super sustained and honestly are some of the best airtime moments I've experienced. So while Thunderhead does have some good airtime, Mystic Timbers has some of the best I've ever felt, and easily takes this round. For the final tiebreaker round, we have another close call, which is Laterals. This is one of the main things that these coasters try and do, and it's one of the real reasons that these coasters have that true out-of-control feeling. And for this, both rides have their moments. Mystic's first drop in the back has some crazy laterals, and they are extremely sustained. But on top of that, every time you leave one of Thunderhead's swooping turns, you also get sustained laterals. But overall, 2 moments on Thunderhead put it in front of Mystic for me. These 2 lateral turns pin you so aggressively to the side of your seat and keep you there before slamming you to the other side and then keeping you there yet again. And honestly, since these are probably some of the best laterals I've ever felt, Thunderhead wins this round. And so, after adding up all the points, the winner is Thunderhead. This was a close call, but I think I agree with these points that Thunderhead is the overall better coaster. The main driving point for me is diversity, and I think the layout and laterals are better. But Mystic is still top tier, and I don't blame anyone who puts this ride above Thunderhead. And once again, this is such a close matchup, and I could see these changing in my rankings anytime soon in the future. But for now, Thunderhead remains my favorite GCI, and the best wooden coaster I've ever been on. If you've made it here, thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. And if you enjoyed this battle, then please like and subscribe to see more content like this in the future. And also, if there are any other 2 coasters that you want to see battle it out, then leave them in the comments and we will gladly make a video about them. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you later. Peace!